Good morning and welcome to Pro Talks. I hope you're having a great Tuesday morning. And today we're going to be talking about branding. In case you're joining us for the first time, my name is Gail Washington and my company is Professional Support Staff. And we work along churches and small business and profits to help them engage in their bookkeeping and financial payroll, as well as their social media web presence, as well as virtually doing projects as a virtual assistant for them. So those are the three things we do, and we give peace of mind, letting you do what God's given you to do so we can take care of a lot of the details and tasks. But anyway, subscribe to our channel, Pro Talks, every Tuesday at 10 a.m. And what we do is we talk about just little tidbits to get us thinking about what's going on for churches, small business, and profits. But today we're going to talk about branding. Branding is so vitally important. The first point or question I want to ask is I want you to think about, why is it important to brand your church or your small business or your nonprofit? Of course, small business, you're trying to create customers and money. But for a church, we're trying to reach the community with the cause of Christ, with the gospel. So you can reach people from around the world, as well as your neighbors, your next door neighbors in your small community or big community. God has given us a great tool with technology, and branding is so important. Why is it important to brand your church? Well, let's say, what is a brand? First, let's define what is branding. Branding is more than a name. It's more than a logo. It's more than a slogan. A brand is a unique identity to your church and ministry, or your small business, or your nonprofit. And so it is a story your audience always thinks about when they see your branding. For instance, we could take a secular brand like Nike. The slogan is "Just Do It." Everybody, when they see Nike, they think about tennis shoes, sports equipment, fitness, basketball, those kind of things, just from their brand. And they've done a great job branding that with a short slogan that can easily be remembered. And you say, well, how does that affect a church? Well, for instance, let me give you an example. Temple Baptist Church I go to in Powell, Tennessee. It is branded in our community and throughout the world, and the slogan is "Speaking the Truth in Love." That is the slogan. That's the underlined phrase. And so people know in our community that we're going to speak the truth, but we want to do it in love. And that's the way everyone is trained through the leadership of the Temple Baptist Church. And so just like with that, people know that we want to help them. And the ultimate goal, of course, is to give the gospel and see people saved and know God better and be discipled and help their homes. So everything you do that influences the outside is called branding. That's what it is. That perception is branding. Whatever your perception is what your branding is. Branding boils down to one question. What does your church want to be known for? That's a big question. But that is what branding is. And that brings me to my second thing. How can branding benefit your church? How can it benefit me? You say, I'm just a small church in a small community. Or you might say, I'm a smaller church, or I'm a big church, but I'm in a huge city. So how can branding benefit my church, or the church that I'm in, or your small business, or maybe even your nonprofit ministry that you're working in every day? Number one is cultivating a strong brand presence takes time and intentional guidance and direction. You have to it's a lot of work to brand. You need to have, where's your mission statement? Does your employees know what your mission is? Do you have a slogan that you go by? Ours for professional support staff, is giving peace of mind. That's our slogan. That's what we want to do and work alongside of churches and small businesses and nonprofits, because we want to give them peace of mind that they are getting it done professionally in a great high standard way, so that they have a good reputation, so to speak, and branding in their community. And so that's the reason I started professional support staff. It wasn't to take over from your staff, but it was to help you and be someone that's kind of like a secretary or a bookkeeper or a media guy in your pocket, so to speak, to where you could do it virtually at a minimal cost and not have to hire on employees, or we could help enhance your employees so they can do more and you can do what God's given you to do. And so that's the reason that we started Pro Support Staff. It's not something you accidentally back yourself into or somebody goes viral and everybody knows what it is. That is a misconception in the branding today. Branding takes work. It takes planning. It takes guidance. It takes making sure that you're checking everything, that you're carrying your brand all the way through. And ultimately, it's when branding, you have to think about, who is my audience? Who do I want to reach? You say, well, I want to reach everyone. Of course you do. Are you going to, with your church, maybe you want to reach your community. Maybe you want to do a emphasis on reaching people, but maybe you have sub-ministries like children's ministry and things like that, but it all connects to your main branding. Just like Temple Baptist Church is speaking the truth in love, no matter if that's a child or if someone in the nursery or someone coming in on our buses or someone, the mayor or the congressman in our town that come to some of our meetings, that is our slogan. We want to speak the truth in love. And so I hope that gives you a little bit of an example. But does your community, let me ask you this, does your community even know that you exist? Are you the best kept secret in town? You have to work with consistency. Branding is all about consistency through all your platforms, through social media. It's through all the different, your stationery to your billboard sign or your signage out front. It all should be consistent with the same colors, same font, same style. So when people see it, they're like, oh, that's First Baptist Church of Ohio. Oh, that's Life Signs Deaf Baptist Church. Because I know that sign. I know that logo. Just like Coca-Cola. Everybody knows what Coca-Cola is. And they've done a fantastic job worldwide of branding themselves. So no matter if you're in Japan or you're in Africa, everybody knows what the Coca-Cola label is. No matter what language is on the can, it's Coke. But I just wanted to say branding's so important. So important. Branding helps you establish a clear identity with your audience. That's so important today. We need a clear identity, and it takes work. Just like with professional support staff, we're trying to work on that and make sure that we are communicating a clear identity of what we do and why we exist. And so that's very, very important in your church. It's super important in your small business, and it's definitely important in your ministry or nonprofit. So that brings me to my third point. How do we create a brand? How do we create a brand? Well, building a brand takes time and effort. And here's a few different things that I can give you as suggestions. You can't just go to the store or a box store and buy a brand. You can get someone to do your logo. We do logos for people. You can get someone to print off stationery and carry that through. You can get someone to help pick out colors or design your website like Pro Support Staff does. But that's not going to get you branded. You have to do some intentional things. And here's some things that I thought might be a help that maybe you would think about that might help you to start really branding yourself. First of all, hold a meeting with your leadership team, no matter if you're a business, ministry, or a church. Get together with even one person or 2 or 3 people and get some ideas. What is your mission statement? I always tell people, start with your mission statement. Why do I exist? Why am I here? How do I communicate that to people? And you could brainstorm with your leadership team and make sure that you have a clear-cut mission statement. And that mission statement should be carried through every area of your ministry, every area of your business. And so every employee should know, and their language should be speaking that. And so identify your audience. Who are you trying to reach? You know, with the church, we're trying to reach all people, but maybe it's your community. If you live in a rural area, reaching your community may be doing things that people in your town can relate to. Maybe you have a town with a lot of farmers. Maybe you have a town where people raise cattle. They connect to that. So utilize those things to get the gospel out, to get your church out, to let people know. Maybe you're in a big city, and cities would be completely different than a rural area. If you tried to relate to cattlemen in New York City, it may not work very well. That's what I'm trying to say. Do an in-depth brand audit. Like, check every single thing. Every single thing in your branding. What's your logo? Does it look good? Is it up to date? If not, it may need to be refreshed or updated, and that's fine. You can come out with a new logo and new brand. You want something that's clean and clear and not busy, because you want to be able to communicate. You know, I tell people, when you're riding by on the interstate and you go by a billboard and you're going 70, 75 miles an hour, you know what? It's one thing they're trying to get to you from that billboard, one communication. And if it's so busy, you're never going to grasp that. That's the way it is with branding. You have to have something clear cut, one slogan that you stick with that threads throughout everything that you're doing. So remember that. And sometimes complexity is easy. Simplicity is hard. It's hard to narrow down to one slogan. It's hard to narrow down to one thought of who you are to your community. So live out the brand in everything you do and say. A great example of this is Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A, you know, if you go into Chick-fil-A, that you're going to get greeted by someone behind the cash register to say, "May I help you?" And you give them the order and say, "Yes, and my pleasure, thank you. My pleasure," has been their tagline, not so much in their brand, but that's what it points back to their mission statement. It is a pleasure to serve you. They, their A game, all of those things point to, hey, we serve the best chicken and the best customer service with the most pleasant atmosphere. They don't have a huge menu, but they get the point across. But Chick-fil-A does a great job in that. They do it in everything they do. Every commercial, every billboard, every store. You know what you can expect when you come in. You know, I'm saying all these things, and that's a lot to deal with. But I just wanted to get people thinking, especially churches. We need to brand ourselves, not because there's not power in the Holy Spirit in the gospel, but because people have to know that you even are there. And what are you there for? And who is your audience? Your audience should be your community. It should be your Samaria, your Judea, and uttermost parts of the earth. And so your brand could go through the whole world. And so, but first, start in your community. What does your community think you are? It can't be rushed. It needs to be some thought and intent into it. You know, you need to take your time and guide. Not that you spend years on it, but you need to really cultivate a brand. What are you there for? Who is your audience? This is a constant thing that you're always working on. And you know what? People need to be involved in that branding. You need to have people in your leadership team and your employees involved in that. So our slogan is, we're giving peace of mind. I want each one of my employees to know that's what they're trying to do. We're trying to service our customers to help them so they can have peace of mind that it's getting done correctly, that they're not so busy they can't even think or do the ministry God's given them to do. And so I tell each one of my employees, we're giving peace of mind. We're giving relief. That's what professional support staff is. So I hope this has been a big help to you. Hope a little tidbits here and there, but over in a bird's eye view, Branding is so important. If you need help with a refresh on your website or a refresh on your logo, call us. We'll be glad to help you. There's lots of people out there that'll do that for you. We can do something from even a one-page website all the way to multiple ministries. And so I just want you to know Pro Support Staff does that. So for this week, that's Pro Talks. Get a hold of us. Let me know what you think. You can email us at info@prosupportstaff.com, and you can email us at info@prosupportstaff.com. You can email us at info@prosupportstaff.com or give us a call at 865-272-6550. Definitely subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. We look forward to seeing you next Tuesday and hope this has been a help.